Welcome to Crochet After Dark, podcast episode number 13. My name's April, and on this podcast, I love to share with you all things yarn and crochet related. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. For my returning viewers, I bet you're wondering where I've been over the past month. With school starting back and just life in general getting busy, I haven't been as consistent as I would like to be, but I'm hoping to be able to kind of get back into the swing of things starting with this podcast episode. So I bet you're wondering, do I have any finished objects to show you? The answer is no, but I do have a lot of fun new works in progress. Let's take a look. So have you checked out my newest series, Stitch Quest? We're on episode 2 and it's so much fun. As part of that series, what I'm doing is taking you, the viewer, through some of my design ideas, sketches, and/or inspiration. And then by leaving a comment in the description, that helps me decide which projects I'm going to work on. So all of my designs were around the kind of blue and pink color scheme. And the design that I chose via a random comment picker wound up being this cute little thing. So this is going to be the block, and it's going to alternate with the navy. So it'll be kind of like a diagonal, and that will be the whole blanket. And then I haven't worked out a border yet, but I've been working really hard on all of these squares, and I've got just a ton of them already done. So the pinks, the middles are done, and the ends are all weaved in, and now I just need to work the outer white and then continue working up this navy. So yeah, and the way that I did the granny, based on how I rotated, it's got a cute little center there. You can kind of see the texture, which I'm really loving. So this is still a work in progress, and that's why a new Stitch Quest episode hasn't been released. As soon as this blanket is finished, then I will come out with Stitch Quest episode 3. So if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when the new Stitch Quest comes out. Okay, outside of Stitch Quest, let's have a look at some of my other works in progress. The next project I have to show you is this lemon peel stitch blanket. And it's going along pretty good. It's just using a very basic lemon peel stitch and Premier's Color Fusion yarn. I think this one's called Springtime, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll put a link to an affiliate link to the yarn in the description below, but it's coming out really nicely. So I think this will be a nice little baby blanket size project. And then I'll probably do a white border when I'm all done, but the edges are nice and straight. But I think a little picot or something would be really cute there. So this is a lemon peel stitch baby blanket. So going from that blanket is another one row. Well, I guess this one's kind of a 2-row repeat. It's the same stitch, but in one row you go in both loops, and in the next row you go in the back loops only. So this is a really interesting vintage stitch, and it works like a double crochet with a minor variation. And it's got a different pattern on each side, but it is double-sided, so both sides look great. And I'm working this up in a Karen ombre yarn. This has been my car project. It's working up super quick and nice straight edges too. I'm using a chain 2 as a turning chain. So it's got a little bit of a ruffle, but we'll smooth that out when I add the border. But again, it's got this really neat kind of stitch pattern. And what I like is on this side, it's got these kind of bars. If you can see that, where it's, you know, got kind of these vertical bars. Anyway, it's really neat. So I'll have a stitch tutorial for this when the blanket's done, but it's a really cool vintage stitch. So it's a little bit more complicated than the lemon peel stitch, but still it's working up nicely, and it's technically a 2-row repeat, but it's the same stitch on both rows, just changing whether you're working in both loops or it's the front loop. So yeah, this is another blanket project I've been working on. Next up is yet another vintage stitch with a beautiful texture, and this is a 1-row repeat, and I'm working this up in a Lion Brand Mandala Big Cake, and I forget the colorway, but this one is really cool because it looks the same for both sides. So it's just got kind of a nice thick texture to it, and it's definitely a yarn eater, but it's working up really nicely. So actually, of the mandala giant cake, I only have a little bit left. So I am going to need more yarn in order to finish this blanket up. So what I think I'm going to do is, we had a little bit of cream down here where I started. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and add some cream to the top once I run out of the mandala cake. So it'll be this yellow gold color. And I'll either do cream or maybe I should do gray. Actually, there's 2 grays in there too. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Should I do cream or should I do one of these, a light gray or a dark gray, to kind of match this? But this is another vintage stitch. And once again, once I have this blanket done, and I'll wrap a nice pretty border on it, and then I'll create a tutorial for it. The last blanket I have to show you is a crochet pattern that I worked up in Stitch Fiddle for a corner to corner afghan. And this is, if you can't tell, Halloween inspired. It's going to be a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern, and I'm really excited about the design. It's kind of simple, but kind of cool. And this is actually my first corner to corner afghans. If you are a returning viewer, you know that I love doing corner to corner blankets, but I thought I'd go ahead and get a afghan a go. And I wanted to create an interesting pattern that would be for Halloween. So yeah, I used Stitch Fiddle to work this up, and you know, getting used to using all of these bobbins to kind of create the colors has been a little bit of a learning curve, to be honest. So even though there are only 2 colors in the whole afghan, actually there will be a green stem at the top, but even though there's only 2 colors for most of the afghan, it's definitely been a learning curve when to create the bobbins, how much yarn to add to them, that kind of thing. But it's been super fun. Luckily, I was watching Terri over at the Yarn Joy podcast, and she had done a afghan and she used these dollar store clips. So I went to the Dollar Tree, I picked up 2 packages, and I'm glad because sometimes even there's 6 per package, so I had 12 total, but on some places of the blanket 12 weren't enough, and I still wound up having to do a ball. But luckily that's just in a few places, so it's not too bad. But yeah, this one should be done, I'm hoping, by next week. So as soon as it's done, I'll go ahead and get the printed pattern, and the pattern will be free on my website for you to check out once it's done. So that's all of the whips that I have to show you for this week's podcast. I am really hoping to be able to get back into the swing of things to start doing the weekly podcast again, because it's fun for me to show off what I'm working on, and also fun to hear your guys' feedback. What was your favorite whip for today's podcast? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep calm and crochet on.